It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury signifying nothing.
So season 2 of Jimmy Neutron is special in its own right, not just because the first season started a great and interesting show about a 5th grade genius, but because of the relationships and inventions that come around this show. It went from season 1 being explorative and exciting to season 2 being just plain weird. Yeah, before we had Professor Calamitous, the FBI guys, but this season, we have a multitude of crazier characters. Beautiful Gorgeous comes in for the first time. Principal Wallaby even becomes a more recurring character. We dive into a lot more episodes exploring Carl's life, Sheen's life, and most importantly, Jimmy and Cindy's relationship seems to grow in this too. Now this season is long and dense, and I really wanted to dive into every single episode and kind of go through it with you guys. So we're going to focus only on every episode of season 2. So there's a total of 21 episodes throughout the second season, but it's a little confusing because Operation Jet Fusion and Win, Lose, and Kaboom are a multitude of episodes and count for more than one, so I'm going to have to walk you guys through this. And we're excluding the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, which is normally episode 15 of the second season, but we're still gonna count it. Between Wikipedia, the Jimmy Fandom Wiki, IMDb, all these websites seem to get some of these episodes out of the wrong season, so I'll just let you know I covered Sorry Wrong Era and A Beautiful Mind in the first season as it's listed on the DVD, so that's gonna be kind of the thing we're gonna mirror. So grab a bag of popcorn and let's get into this 2000s nostalgia with Johnny 2000.
How come whenever we're in outer space, we don't gotta wear helmets?
Good question, Sheen. And the answer is quite interesting. You see...
Spoon! Huh, really? Mm-hmm. And how come we don't need oxygen tanks and stuff?
Well...
Star, you're so far, can't go my car!
Okay, so in the season premiere of Jimmy Neutron, we have Beach Party Mummy, which is a weird title, I'll tell you that much. This one's a full-length episode instead of being broken into 2 parts, which I'm excited about. We start with Jimmy trying to revive a dead fish with his electro-life device, which is a really cool concept for an invention. When it doesn't work, he throws it away.
The smooth, cold texture reminds me of Swimmy.
Carl's depressed because Swimmy's dead, and obviously it's his fish. Meanwhile, they go to school and they're learning about Egypt. Miss Fowl puts on a really boring movie, which is comically empty.
Dear Ahmadiyya, today I moved a 1-ton boulder across the broiling desert sands.
And Jimmy encourages Carl, Sheen, Cindy, and Libby to sneak away. Almost stopped by the principal, they come up with a really ridiculous excuse.
He meant to say we're on our way to the school tanning salon.
The school tanning salon? Well, have fun! Oh, and don't fall asleep. I did once, and I ended up looking like a big old lobster.
And get away with it. Jimmy takes everybody into the hover car, and they set off. After a while, they land in the desert. It's really empty and boring, and nobody's really happy until they turn it into a beach party, which is a really funny musical number with everybody dancing.
Egyptian beach party. Shake it loose on the Nile.
And I forgot how much I love this show. It's so funny that Cindy and Libby are a part of this now, because if this was a first season episode, I feel like they would have focused on keeping it between Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl. The fact they're incorporated is really exciting. After a while, a giant sandstorm comes, ruining their beach party. They jump in the hover car and try to get away, but it completely knocks them out. They end up finding an ancient pyramid. Ooh, this is where it gets kind of scary. So Jimmy and all the friends head into this giant pyramid that has dead bodies and everything.
There's no steps, there's no handrail, there's no souvenir shop. I'm standing out here.
And when they find something on the architecture, they see that it's Libby with a different hairstyle. This has always been my favorite. Like, the distinction between season 1 and season 2 being Libby's hairstyle was always cool to me. I remember just as a kid realizing that that meant this was like a new era. Libby's excited, so is Sheen. Jimmy translates the ancient text to find out that this woman was 18 when she died, which is the first time it's relevant for somebody to say, and why do the good die young? Meanwhile, the principal finally realizes there must have been a discrepancy with the excuse he got from the kids.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute.
Come on.
We don't have a tanning salon.
Jimmy finds a giant empty room that ends up having a secret stone to unlock another room. Suddenly everybody's trapped and it's like they're gonna die here. Suddenly snakes start to appear and attack the kids, with Jimmy using fire as a way of stopping them. Jimmy wants to go forward and find out more about the Egyptians, but everybody else is like worried about it. Eventually they come across a bunch of dead mummies. The lights go off and everything is dark until Carl brings out the invention Jimmy had earlier to use light, but it accidentally makes the mummies come to life. You know, if Jimmy's a genius, I don't know how he's not noticing his entire invention bringing mummies back to life. Like, this is ridiculous.
These are looking at us.
Impossible. They're moving.
Which is kind of late in the episode to have a really big threat like that. And they start chasing the kids. And I remember being scared of this when I was little. Just the fact that they go so slow kind of freaks me out. Jimmy realizes that the only way to get to them is through Libby. It looks romantic for a second, but obviously it's not.
What's going on? It's the desert love curse, working its evil ways on Jimmy's heart.
So they switch her hairstyle and have her stop the mummies. And then also gives them choreography.
Oh, yeah.
Libby commands them to have a 10-year sleep, and I guess that's how they solve that problem. They finally leave the desert, coming back just in time to be caught by the principal and Miss Fowl.
Miss Fowl, we're back.
Turns out that they're not that mad because they went on an educational adventure, and that's kind of how the episode ends.
Pretty cool adventure, Neutron.
Oh, thanks, Cindy.
But I bet the next one stinks.
Cindy and Jimmy have their first genuine moment, and it is very quickly shut down. The end. So the Retroville 9, which is season 2, episode 2 of Jimmy Neutron, I'm super nostalgic for because it was included on my Game Boy Advance video. This is the one where they're playing baseball pretty much.
Ball, that was right down the middle. I've seen better calls than a square dance.
It starts us out at school when Jimmy's team can't beat the school bullies' baseball team. They literally run bases around them completely. All the other kids gave up, but Jimmy has an ego, so he insists on challenging Butch to another game.
We want a rematch.
You're on.
No! Why?
Then we get another classic Hugh Jimmy father-son scene.
They used to call me, "Get lost! We hate you!"
And Jimmy realizes that he can do a little bit more than just get better at baseball. So he takes the baseball equipment and re-engineers it in his lab. Suddenly, all of him and his friends are amazing baseball players.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest boy on the face of the earth.
It's like ridiculous. How do you not understand this is them cheating? Hugh Neutron has such a funny side plot in this episode where it's just like all the baseballs everybody hits just somehow finds him and hits him. The team gets cocky and is even recruited to play in the major leagues in Japan, which is such a specific place to have this major league thing. Jimmy has an opportunity to tell his friends, but he gets too shy. Next thing you know, they're actually in Japan at the professional game. Jimmy doubles down and tries not to tell his friends, even hiding the other equipment. A famous baseball player impresses Sheen with his Ultra Lord knowledge.
Well, if he uses Retro Blast powers and Proton Ball like he did in Ultra Lord versus the Gravity Suckers, it'd be pretty hard.
Suddenly, Jimmy realizes it's time to come clean, and he tells his friends about the equipment and gives them a long speech about how they need to believe in themselves, and that's how they'll win.
Now, who wants to go out there and win this game?
And you see on the sign it says super dedicated work team and then Retroville 9, which is cool because it means like the writers actually get that they're not doing the right thing. It kind of ends on a bittersweet moment where they just lose, and that's kind of the end. But they learn their lesson, and that's what matters. Next, we have Grumpy Young Man. So Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are at the video game store trying to rent Doombringer 2, but it's rated M for mature. And obviously the kids aren't old enough, and even the cashier at the place refuses to sell it to them.
We're highly mature. I demand my constitutional rights.
They get kicked out of the store, which is kind of funny, and Sheen gets ice cream in his face. This is like one of those classic episodes where it's like kids wishing that they were older than they were, which is super relatable. If anything, I'm surprised this isn't in the first season. I know Timmy Turner did an episode of this where he became older too. It's called The Big Problem.
Suppose, theoretically, a person could accelerate his metabolism to make himself 18, but it would be highly unethical.
You mean the only thing standing between us and hot multiplayer action is the difference between right and wrong?
So Jimmy hooks up his portal for everybody to walk into and come out mature old men. Oh wait, but it doesn't work. They are the same.
Which one of you guys wants to help me comb my back hair?
Or not.
Until the next morning when they realize that they're old men. Oh my gosh, Jimmy is so disturbing looking. Like, it's kind of cute because it's like, oh, it's Jimmy older and his little swoop is still there, but it looks kind of gross. Carl and Sheen look way too natural, which is funny. And they're just as much themselves as they were before, just old.
I just need to get a hold of enough titanium to make a stronger time break.
And this episode is just like super comedic relief. Jimmy drives a car, which is jarring because I've never seen a main character drive a car in a kid's show, but I guess they're old enough, so whatever. Carl and Sheen get distracted by the senior buffet while Cindy and Libby corner older Jimmy, not recognizing him at all.
Take my arm, extremely old but still valuable senior citizen.
I don't need your girly help.
We realize that titanium is the only thing that will be able to reverse the old age thing. But when Jimmy gets there, he completely forgets what he's doing and even runs into his father, who does not recognize him.
You remind me of my father. Except you're not always saying, Huey, I told you, toothpaste isn't food.
Well, he kinda does, but he doesn't know it's Jimmy. He even takes this old man back to his house against Jimmy's will. And it's funny because it's like, I wonder if this is actually how old people are treated. Like, they're just taken around by younger people like Cindy and Libby and Hugh. And even at the restaurant, Carl and Sheen get bombarded by this old married couple who think they're trying to hit on them, but really they're just there for the special.
I don't even like girls yet.
I challenge you to a dance-off.
He accepts!
Jimmy has dinner with his parents as an old person and tries to tell them what's wrong, but they do not believe him, and it's really funny. I think they just left their car at the candy shop though. Later, Sheen pulls Carl on a gurney. Oh my god, are they gonna die? It turns out that they won the eating competition and got a titanium trophy as a present, so Jimmy is able to activate the machine and everybody is able to return to normal. Carl ends up eating this disgusting looking purple whip, and I don't really know why this is the ending. But yeah, these episodes do what Jimmy Neutron does best, where it's like an everyday situation twisted with one of Jimmy's inventions and piled on top of Jimmy's ego, getting in the way of solving the problem. The show has gotten such a rhythm by now, it's sad to think that we're like halfway through the entire series at this point. Jimmy Neutron had it all. He has the brains, the adventure, but now he's a spy? Yeah, did you guys remember that Jimmy Neutron became a spy? This is the infamous 2-part episode in season 2 of Jimmy Neutron where Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen take on a much bigger threat than they're used to when Jimmy's recruited to be a spy and save Jet Fusion. But let's jump into it. So Jimmy Neutron takes on James Bond in this first 2-part episode, Operation Rescue Jet Fusion. So we start the special with an ominous clip show of Jimmy Neutron and his more heroic moments. It turns out to be watched by a government agent.
Get me that kid.
We get a really cool spy-like intro, and we got some really notable actors in this, like Wendy Malick as Beautiful Gorgeous, Tim Curry as Professor Calamitous. I'm starting to underestimate all these Jimmy Neutron songs. Like, there was the Valentine's Day special, the Christmas special, and even this. Like, there are so many really good musical numbers in Jimmy Neutron. They're kind of bangers. So Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are in line to see the new movie Die Again Tomorrow? Forever, which is a really ominous name. And it stars Jet Fusion, which is this really cool action-packed James Bond type. In the movie, it's literally just him pushing bad guys out of a plane. I mean, like, how is this a full narrative?
Hate to leave you hanging, but I've got a jet.
I wonder if they're just in there for an hour and a half watching, and he saves the woman. Very stereotypical of the time. Carl tells Jimmy he reminds him of Jet Fusion, which obviously is a compliment.
Except he's older and has big bulging muscles and his hair's different and girls like him and he's not short.
Yeah, I get the point.
Sheen challenges him, saying that he can't put his foot behind his head, and that is one of my favorite bits that Sheen continues to do throughout the show. So during class, Jimmy is called to the principal's office. Nobody knows why, but everybody speculates.
I'll call your lawyer, and don't talk, no matter how much they torture you. He's gonna sing like a canary.
He's walking through the deserted hallway when he's magically warped into a locker? Like, how in the world does this make sense? He jumps in sideways but lands at the bottom, which, Jimmy Neutron, you're a genius. How are you not questioning the gravity? Apparently, Commander Baker of BTSO headquarters needs Jimmy. It's a big top secret organization, which is so basic, and they ask him to do a top secret mission.
We need you to reactivate the tracking device, find Agent X, and bring him back. This is a dangerous mission. You may not come back alive.
Can I get out of school?
Of course.
Then you got yourself a spy.
Can you imagine going on a field trip and somebody tells your parents, yeah, by the way, he may not come back alive? Don't they need to get Hugh and Jimmy's mom's consent for this? They set him up with the genius inventor, and Jimmy just happens to one-up him at every turn.
Mobile utility vehicle travels 200 miles per hour on 1 tank of gas.
Won't need it. My hovercraft goes 476 miles per hour on land, sea, and air, and runs on 1 cup of fun fuel.
Oh, well, aren't we a little Thomas Edison?
Actually, I met Thomas Edison when I brought him back in my time.
And it's so funny because he's not honestly meaning to be a show-off in this moment. He just genuinely had a lot of accomplishments. He even disactivates the inventor's tank.
That's a very nice little thing you've invented.
Jimmy says he's going on a spy mission, so he's officially a spy now.
Spies aren't cute.
Yeah, Honey Pie East was. Ooh, I used to watch her TV show all the time. I had her picture up in my room.
Hugh somehow turns this into a lesson that does not pan out at all.
Yeah, I had a cool suit, a pair of sunglasses, a secret camera.
Hugh, you were a spy for Halloween.
Sure was. And did I look boss or what? I got so much candy that year, I threw up until Christmas. You know,
Jimmy's parents send him, Carl, and Sheen off as they head on their mission. And, like, they're barely taking it seriously, but I don't know. I think it's going to be an awesome mission. As they're flying in Jimmy's hover car, a giant rocket heads toward them. Oh, man, it's getting dangerous. The hover car is impacted and they land in the ocean. Ooh, adventurous. And that's when the first commercial break happens. Jimmy introduces his neutronic air gun, which allows the cast to breathe underwater. I always remember this clip from Nickelodeon because this is where SpongeBob's house was in the background, and they always put it in the commercials. I'm like, guys, it's not an Easter egg if you're telling everybody about it. Yep, there it is. They encounter an evil clam and are able to swim away. Oh my god, this gum is so cool. I would love to breathe underwater. They're running away from the clam, and the funny bit happens where it looks like Pac-Man.
Was it something we said?
Maybe it was our breath. I had frosted garlic pops for breakfast with soy milk.
No, that's what stopped the clam.
A vague person in a scuba outfit encounters Jimmy and his friends at the bottom of the sea and guides them up to the boat. It's revealed to be Beautiful Gorgeous, played by Wendy Malick, and she is such a funny character because obviously all the kids obsess over her, which is kind of weird.
Are you boys all right?
Will you be my mommy?
Wendy Malick's voice is perfect for something like this. I don't know why, it just definitely fits the genre, and I feel like we're jumping into this. Obviously, we know about Beautiful Gorgeous from future episodes, but I'm going to refrain from spoiling it right yet. But this character is so funny and has such a distinct personality.
You all are so fascinating. Too bad I have to annihilate you.
She reveals that she is a villain and going to kill them. Jimmy asks to take off his watch since they were captured, but at the last second he magnetizes her to the side of the boat, able to get away. Jimmy, you are a genius. See, the inventor would have never thought of that.
You can bet we'll meet again.
No, I don't think I'll be visiting you in prison.
Oh, I will.
Ciao.
Jimmy is able to escape in his hover car, only to be attacked by another torpedo, and Beautiful Gorgeous already broke free, and she is chasing them too. The cinematics in this part is really cool, though.
Doesn't her hair look beautiful blowing in the breeze?
And they continue their adventure up Mount Everest. Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen fall off the mountain, just barely holding on. Oh my gosh, this is so risky. Right before they fall down the entire mountain, Carl and Sheen land on the ground, but Jimmy lands in a tree and falls into a giant sewer-like hole in the ground. Carl and Sheen are separated as they're approached by these guys in really dark robes. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a cult. Jimmy ends up in a giant cage, and who better to run into but Jet Fusion? Perfect time to end this halfway episode. Oof, I love double episodes.
Jet Fusion?
So this is a perfect way to stop the first half of it. Like, he finally gets to meet his hero, and I'm curious where it's going from here. So Jimmy and Jet are trapped in the cage. Jimmy is starstruck, and Jet Fusion is an actual spy, it seems, which is not super secret.
Started after I graduated from MIT, Caltech, and Harvard. I got into extreme sports as part of a research project. An agent spotted me and put me in the movies. Impressed by my amazing stunt work. Who wouldn't be? The BTSO tracked me down and asked me to join the team.
Mr. Fusion does not think that Jimmy is capable of this and thinks it's a big joke. Jet's kind of a jerk. He's like, I'm gonna probably have to save you now. And it's like, come on, bro.
I'm on to you, Dino, in accounting.
Sorry, Mr. Fusion. They really sent me.
He reveals that he's trying to track down Professor Calamitous, and Jimmy Neutron immediately recognizes him. Oh, come on, Jet. Can you believe that he's a hero now?
Jimmy Neutron, can I get you anything? A pillow, fuzzy slippers, a cappuccino?
Wait a minute. You could never finish anything.
Not sure if you guys remember, but Professor Calamitous was known for never finishing anything. Meanwhile, Carl and Sheen are headed up the mountain following the mysterious guys in robes.
Pal, you really need to get over this llama fixation once and for all.
Hey, I was born a llama boy and I'll die a llama boy!
That may be sooner than you think.
Jet Fusion and Jimmy are strapped to the seat as they enjoy Professor Calamitous' food. He reveals his plan to completely melt the snow and create a meltdown.
Well, I haven't really worked out what happens after that.
He finds excuses for not completing his entire plan, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, that's Professor Calamitous, alright. Calamitous reveals that his assistant is beautiful gorgeous. She shows up on the table, ready to kill them both. Her and Jet Fusion have an uncomfortably obvious flirtation, but Jet Fusion is not worried about it.
The name's Jet Fusion.
Oh, yes. The movie star and part-time secret agent. I've heard about you.
Really? So, what are you doing later, beautiful?
Sorry, she'll be busy eliminating you.
She's told to get rid of them, but it's already kind of complaining about how he treats her, so we know that there's going to be a little deception coming up soon. She keeps going off into this brief monologue where she says she wanted to be a, and then never finishes it.
What's an attractive, sophisticated woman like you doing with an evil dirtbag like Professor Calamitous?
He's my father.
No!
She attaches Jet Fusion and Jimmy to this giant gadget that slowly rotates until it gets rid of them. I don't know why all the villains always like to stall when it comes to killing the heroes.
I saw ropes and we can escape.
Got a calculator hidden in that hair of yours?
No, just a big brain.
No whispering.
Jimmy uses his genius to help Jet Fusion jump off the blade and stop Beautiful Gorgeous long enough for him to get out. While Jet and Beautiful Gorgeous fight, Jimmy tries to disarm the invention. But obviously Jimmy is fanboying over the fight before he can get to the contraption, and uses his Confuse Ray to confuse Beautiful Gorgeous. Meanwhile, Sheen and Carl apparently are taken to the Promised Land.
Toss us over and we'll fall on the sharp, pointy rocks we missed earlier.
Or not.
So long, Carl. I'm sorry I occasionally made fun of llamas. Deep down, I think they're quite adorable.
And it's like paradise. Like, meanwhile, Jimmy is doing this top secret mission, which is so normal for this show. Jimmy and Jet get to Calamitous' machine right after he goes to the bathroom.
Think I can destroy Calamitous' device without harming the delicate Tibetan ecosystem.
Just blow it up, kid. We're not here to save the whales.
Jimmy manages to stop the bomb, but instead redirects it to the lab where they all are. So quickly, they have to get out. Jimmy uses Jet's catchphrase,
Got it, Jet! Sorry.
Hey, if this works, you can use my catchphrase anytime you like.
And they leave Beautiful Gorgeous and Calamitous behind. They get into a big argument, not knowing that this place is about to blow, while Jimmy and Jet use the door of the lab to ski their way down the mountain. Calamitous and Beautiful Gorgeous realize what's about to happen, so they hurry out as quickly as possible, resentful at each other and continuing to fight.
No, let's just sit here and watch them escape.
Are you being sarcastic again?
Explosion happens, the villains are rolled into a snowball and fall down the mountain, literally about to attack Jimmy and Jet. Finally, Jimmy uses his jetpack to safely land with Jet. Professor Calamitous and Beautiful Gorgeous also land in the same place, this giant llama paradise where Sheen and Carl have been this whole time.
Sheen? Oh, you mean the chosen one.
The chosen one?
They find Carl and Sheen immediately, and Sheen is praised for putting the foot behind his head. Oh yeah, that was this episode. Jimmy gets Carl and Sheen, and they both head home, telling his parents what's going on, And next thing you know, Jimmy is at the front of the next spy movie poster. Then we see a brief glimpse of a movie of Jimmy being a spy and attacking a bunch of ninjas, which is kind of funny. And that's how the special ends, as he rescues Betty Quinlan. This special is really good because obviously Jimmy Neutron is a genius and him working with jet fusion is a step up from what he's used to. A bigger threat definitely justifies a double episode. With Professor Calamitous returning, it's even more at stake because we know exactly what to be worried about. The one thing I don't really like about it is its very minimal lack of character development. Like, none of the events that are happening are because of the characters' personalities or what's going on. It's all just event after event. But that's usually a spy movie, so I guess it makes sense that they're following that format for this. It's epic, it has adventure, and it's hilarious, and that's all you really need in Jimmy Neutron. I mean, Jimmy Neutron isn't known for having dramatic character stakes in their big specials like this, but obviously we're going to get to even better ones as time goes on. I'm not sure if you guys saw my video on Win, Lose, Kaboom, which comes later in the series, but that's a little bit better than this one. All around, 7 out of 10. I definitely think it's a better Jimmy Neutron episode, but it still feels like it's lacking what it set out to do. But what do you guys think? Do you remember Operation Jet Fusion?
Now for the Jimmy Neutron Halloween special, Nightmare in Retroville.
What are we gonna be for Halloween?
Llama Boy!
Carl, you've been Llama Boy for the last 8 years.
Yeah, plus Llama Boy's not scary.
Jimmy guesses that Sheen's gonna be Ultra Lord, but Sheen denies this, saying he wore out his costume. 3 of them go back to the house where he was watching the favorite movie Octopus Man.
So, who are you gonna be this year, Jim?
To Carl and Sheen's surprise, Jimmy says that he won't trick or treat, since Halloween's kind of for kids. However, Jimmy makes a deal that he will make Carl and Sheen into monsters if they give him half their candy. They go into Jimmy's lab where Jimmy presents his neutronic monster maker, which will change anyone's physical appearance to resemble the monster they choose. Carl chooses to be a vampire, Sheen chooses to be a werewolf, and then Jimmy turns them into the monsters.
I am Dracula! That was my keyboard.
Which clearly Jimmy's inventions never go wrong. Jimmy turns them into monsters and they use the hover car to go trick-or-treating to get to more houses. They go to Principal Wallaby's house first and get enough candy to make them sick for weeks, and Sheen puts it.
I was a butterfly, then I was an elf, a sprite, an ice skater. I was Peter Pan 6 times, Michelangelo's David, and I gotta tell you, that was chilly. Brr!
When Carl accidentally cuts himself in the finger, the wrapper, he drinks his own blood and his finger is healed. He turns into a vampire bat and actually flies away, so Jimmy surmises that his machine actually changed Carl's DNA into that of a real vampire.
Yeah, Jimbo, have you seen my suede duck feet with the... Oh, darling. A big game? Oh, I want to play Name That Monster.
Meanwhile, Hugh accidentally falls into Jimmy's lab, inadvertently turns himself into Frankenstein's monster, rendering him unable to speak in complete sentences. Judy thinks he's made himself a wonderful costume as he's trying to kill her. Sheen then sees the full moon come out and starts to attack Jimmy. Jimmy panics and flies off in the hover car. Jimmy lands his hover car in the park and asks Goddard what he knows about vampires, like how they eat blood of the living, can turn the victims into vampires, repelled by garlic. He asks Goddard anything about werewolves, but it's Miss Fowl who answers the question, appearing out of the fog as a fortune teller, which is actually kind of cool.
Hi, Miss Fowl. How do you know about werewolves?
I was married to one, but that's a story for another day.
And she tells Jimmy that about werewolves because she was once married to one. That explains a lot, Miss Fowl. She tells Jimmy that werewolves can turn people into werewolves by biting them and can be destroyed by an object made of silver. She quickly disappears back into the fog. Carl finds Cindy, hypnotizes her, bites her, and turns her into a real emo vampire like him. I mean, look at his getup. It's definitely like emo vibes.
I need meat. Well, don't look at me. I'm a vegetarian. I knew it. Carl owes me $2. He thought you were a Republican.
Sheen finds Libby and bites her, turning her into a werewolf like him. Jimmy and Goddard try to run back to the hover car, but Carl and Cindy do a big flip over him and land in front of the hover car, blocking his path. He and Goddard go into the alley to sneak back to the hover car, where Sheen and Libby sneak behind him. Jimmy runs across the street to get silver from the Hi-Ho Silver Jewelry Store. Then Hugh, holding Judy, comes to the sidewalk running into Jimmy. Jimmy realizes his dad probably got into the lab and turned himself to a monster himself.
And full of blood.
Why, thank you,
What? Look into my eyes, please.
Ah, she mine.
Sheen and Carl attack Hugh while Cindy and Libby start fighting, and then Judy breaks up the fights, telling them all to work amongst themselves. When they work things out, the monsters conclude that they shouldn't fight each other and instead decide to scare the townspeople. Meanwhile, Jimmy returns to the lab and turns himself into a monster, but lowering the settings so that his DNA, unlike the others, won't change. The monsters go to the candy bar where an alarmed Sam and Miss Fowl call up an angry mob armed with silver, garlic, and fire. They chase the monsters into a mini golf course and they all have to hide.
What is that?
It's horrible!
It's hideous! It's Jimmy?
No, it's...
They then see Jimmy coming from the sky as a giant octopus, which Hugh admires. And so Jimmy grabs all of them with his tentacles, takes them back home, and turns them back to normal. Whew! This one was a special, very, very special. I don't know what this was about. This one was actually really interesting. They definitely worked in the premise of Jimmy Neutron to make it really natural, as opposed to a lot of the other shows that just have to break the fourth wall and go crazy for an episode. This feels like a Jimmy Neutron episode, which I really like. So Monster Hunt to me is a pretty forgettable episode, but rewatching it, there's a lot of really funny moments. It starts us off in the lake with a Jaws type scene of Mrs. Fowl swimming with Sam, the candy bar guy. It's very romantic. I didn't realize they were in a relationship until like right now. Miss Fowl is attacked by a giant sea monster, leaving Sam alone at sea. The town is furious, with the mayor trying to figure out what's going on with this lake. Cindy and Libby are pretty certain that it is a lake monster.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the lake monster.
But Jimmy likes to stand up in front of everybody and try to discredit them, which is kind of disrespectful, Jimmy. Like, they're trying to give a presentation. The mayor is kind of like not understanding anything Jimmy says, but Jimmy is determined. He says he's going to go out there himself with his invention and Carl and Sheen and prove that this lake monster is not a real thing. Meanwhile, Carl kind of tells us a story about his pet turtle that he released into the ocean way back when, and it kind of feels irrelevant. They get on the boat with this senile old man with a giant chunk in his hat. This guy seems like he's seen bigger things than what we're about to deal with.
Eyes black as pitch, like a doll's eyes.
They prefer to be called action figures.
And his hand completely detaches, which is horrifying. They finally set off into the ocean and bond with this old man while Jimmy is trying to get all his work done.
Another pass or two and I think we're done here. Are you out of your mind?
He tells him the story about how his monkeys were attacked, I guess?
And that's why they call me Betty.
And there's more and more proof as the episode goes on that this thing is real without actually scientific proof, so then Jimmy doesn't count it.
Chilean monster could possibly exist in a man-made freshwater ecosystem.
Yahoy, Jimbo!
Dad?
Hi there, sport! Just dumping some of the runoff from your lab.
They find Hugh Neutron in a boat pouring out highly contaminated goo into the ocean from Jimmy's lab. Jimmy's like, what the heck are you doing, Dad? And finally, we have an explanation. A giant turtle comes from the ground, kind of looks like Bowser, and attacks the ship. It's exactly like Carl's little turtle. So it turns out all this goo that Mr. Neutron is dropping into the ocean must have transformed him. So technically, this is Jimmy's fault.
I think it's working. Once we get Snappy encased in ice, I'll feed him this demutation pellet.
Which, how did you know you needed that, Jimmy? As the giant monster attacks the boat. Eventually, it even starts to sink as they end up stranded in the ocean. Finally, managed to demutate the giant turtle, and Carl's little pet is back, but he's still allergic.
Look. Nicely done, Chiefy.
Captain Betty, you're alive!
They swim off back to shore, singing a song, and that's kind of the end of the episode. The next episode is Jimmy for President. So this is one of those classic election episodes where the main characters are running up against each other to try to get class president for the power of the entire grade. Very stereotypical of a TV show to do when they're in school. Jimmy essentially is like, oh, I can't wait to bring learning as a class president. And Jimmy, I would not vote for you either. You seem like you would do a lot of boring rules. And of course, Cindy and Libby are super excited to run. They finally introduce one of the best characters in the show, Bolby.
We have a new foreign exchange student joining us from Bakharistan. Please welcome Bolby Stroganovsky.
Hello, fellow learners!
A new addition to the class, who's getting made fun of for his cultural differences, which isn't really cool. He puts himself on the candidate list, along with Jimmy, Sheen, and Libby. Sheen has a really funny speech to be class president.
Ultra-Lord tattoos will be mandatory. Principal Willoughby, tear down your wall!
and woos over no one. Of course, Libby is the cool one and promising things that I don't think you could legally have in a school environment.
15 minutes of funk every day. Can you handle that? Tell it, sister.
Can we afford funk every day?
And then of course Jimmy does not help his own case as he just promises educational things, which even the teachers aren't interested in.
Flashy clothes or polyrhythmic music or guacamole bars.
That's because you don't know the secret ingredient. It's love.
Bolby comes up with a dance routine, and he is immediately dismissed too. Next we have Carl as a swing voter, and everybody showing up to his house one by one trying to bribe him, and it's so funny.
And just to make sure we understand each other.
Cindy, you accidentally left $1 in my hand.
Keep it.
Why?
I think you know why.
I don't. Why are you winking at me? Why did you give me $1? My brain hurts.
Is the peak of this episode because he thinks she likes him. Sheen is just downright aggressive and not super helpful. Bolby doesn't really say much. And Jimmy is the most rational, but obviously he's the least interesting part of this episode. Hugh Neutron tries to give Jimmy advice about being class president, and obviously it does nothing.
I was elected towel boy in junior high. What's really important is you have to give a little razzle-dazzle. Give him a show. Kick out the jam, sock it to him, yeah?
Razzle-dazzle, huh?
Later, there's like a school fair where everybody is given a chance to woo as to why they should be president, and suddenly Jimmy goes from being nothing to an actual threat, giving everybody purple Fleur mist and candy. Then finally a dance routine with himself in it. And I'm like, okay, maybe Jimmy does have a chance, but it's like, why would this benefit the school at all? In the end, it's finally time to announce the winner, and instead of going to all the usual people, Carl is intimidated by every single person.
There's more you-know-what if you vote for Libby.
It's up to him who becomes class president, which is ridiculous. He ends up choosing Bolby, which is the only fair way to get out of this plot that the writers have driven them into. Like, who else could have won without it having to have a lasting impact on the entire series and change the episodes from now on? Like, obviously you have to have Bolby do it. Obviously the kids can't get mad at each other because Carl didn't choose them. And that's kind of where it ends.
Okay, your president has got the job and start slapping! Slap, 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 clap, clap, clap.
I love election episodes, and I think this one did probably one of the best election episodes I've ever seen, just because it has Jimmy and his ego trying his best, but then flipping to his invention like he usually would in an episode. It has Sheen being really wacky and weird, Hugh Neutron giving advice, Carl at the center of everything, and Libby and Cindy acting aggressive. It has like all the elements that make Jimmy Neutron a really good show. The characters are so lively in these episodes, and I just love where the season is heading. So Jimmy brings his Nanobots back, these two little guys from a couple episodes earlier in the first season. They've got really humorous buddy comedy vibe and just care about serving Jimmy.
2 eyes. Now my gaze is twice as commanding.
Test, test. Woo-hoo-hoo. Listen to my new voice. I'm like a silicon-based Julio Iglesias.
A paper report, Jimmy needs help, so he asks the Nanobots to do it for him.
To scan my new poem and correct it for errors. It has to be perfect.
The creator wishes us to correct for error.
We are back, baby!
They end up going haywire, arguing, and ruining all of it. Jimmy realizes that they are still disobedient and locks them away.
I blame your poor leadership skills.
They're hard on each other and realize that their master is not happy. So they come up with an idea to actually get out and help him more, getting to their old ship. So they sneak out of Jimmy's little invention and go on an adventure themselves, which is so cute, eventually getting to this UFO-sized hover car.
I call Captain's chair!
Over my dead relays!
When Jimmy's going to school, the hover car emerges and follows him. Suddenly, it appears at school and starts controlling all these different aspects, like Sheen is presenting and it starts to control his dance moves.
Box step, plie, plie,
and bring it on home!
It ruins Miss Fowle's hair, and Jimmy doesn't really know what to do about it. Soon it begins bullying everybody in the school, even finding its way to Nick outside and even the lunch lady. Everybody is terrified as it takes over the lunchroom, and these two quirky little guys are just destroying everything, even getting Cindy and Libby.
Hey, not bad!
They corner Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen, and that's where the commercial break happens. Okay, so this is a real threat. I like that we're not going out super far for this plot, like we're staying inside an already established location, and it's kind of cool. The Nanobots take things way farther, throwing Jimmy into a closet and getting rid of everybody on Earth. This makes Hugh Neutron think that he is the last person on Earth, which is a super funny bit.
Maybe they got together and formed an angry mob! Wait up, everybody! I want to be in the mob, too! Sam! Anyone! Somebody answer me!
He decides to go about life as if it's the end. And of course, his natural instinct is to eat as much as possible and live life to the fullest. Meanwhile, Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are the only ones on Earth and don't really come across him. They realize the plan is to just completely get rid of everybody on Earth and that they have to act very quickly.
But if the trash bin gets full, the Nanobots will have to dump it, and if that happens, everyone's atoms will be gone forever!
Hugh is about to become super depressed until he finds an empty car of pies. Oh my god, I remember this episode so well. Hugh Neutron and his obsession with pies gets way too far in this section. Like, he just gets over all of his family and the world's deaths through pie?
I will live!
I feel like I would go through a lot of psychological issues. Jimmy uses the same tactic to fight the Nanobots as the first one, causing them to fight. In a really awesome chase sequence, the Nanobots try to attack Jimmy. Jimmy asks his Nanobots for one last request, and it's the essay he asked them to help him with earlier.
But she's still not as smart as me.
She can't even compute the value of pi, which I know equals 3.
Error! Pi is not equal to 3.
It's going against his own complete logic where he's talking about how Cindy is smarter than him. It's almost like he's turning on his own brain, causing the Nanobots to be so confused that they dysfunction. These guys are like kind of really easy to defeat. Like, I get that they have a lot of really threatening tactics and it ends up being horrible, but like the solution is always super easy. And Jimmy doesn't even kill them. He just lets them lay in the debris, which, Jimmy, come on, this literally is the second time this is happening. Can you just prevent this next time? Hugh doesn't seem to learn his lesson by the end, and that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, overall, this is a really good one. I thought this was the initial episode with the Nanobots, but I didn't remember that they came first, that they've been in this show already, and this is just like a sequel appearance. I like the single location and how Jimmy ends up solving the problem he started through turning around his own genius and beating his own ego. Like, that's a really impressive message. Overall, a really good episode. Next, we take on 2 holiday episodes back to back, which is crazy because we just had a Halloween episode, we just had a double-parter, but you know what, Jimmy is not long, so I guess we're gonna have to give him this. As if we didn't already have a holiday special, it's time for Holly Jolly Jimmy, Season 2, Episode 8. The Jimmy Neutron holiday special is really funny because I don't remember it super well, but now that I'm rewatching it, it is so endearing. Of course, it's Jimmy, who is this brainiac, basically disproving Santa Claus's possibility of delivering all these presents on time. We get a really fun musical number with everybody in town singing about Christmas and Jimmy not being so into it. I recently did a retrospective on Jimmy Neutron's first season if you guys want to check it out. Musical numbers are not common for this show. This is probably the first time I've ever seen these guys sing, and it's really fun. The way the voices go with each other, but also stand out, like Miss Foul's voice is jarring, and hearing Jimmy sing is really pretty. I like seeing his character, and I'm really getting used to the idea of having musical numbers in all of these specials. I really wasn't expecting My Life as a Teenage Robot. I was definitely expecting SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, but this is definitely a treat. Jimmy tells the story of how he doesn't really believe in Christmas because one year he asked for this DNA sample of some sort and Santa didn't bring it to him, so he woke up pretty disappointed. Sheen is immediately pointing out that of course he didn't get it because he almost destroyed the world that holiday. Of course, that's not surprising because Jimmy is this genius and always causing chaos in the town. Jimmy's really defensive because of course he deserved that present, but we kind of get insight onto why he doesn't believe in Santa. So Jimmy's a buzzkill as usual, and they eventually get to the point where they're like, let's travel to the North Pole and prove that he's real. So they pack up everything, get into Jimmy's rocket, and head to the North Pole. Before they head on the trip, Cindy and Libby are trying to get back at Jimmy, but accidentally get sucked into his hypercube. So on this entire trip, Cindy and Libby are floating in this vast, empty void, waiting for it. When they reach the North Pole, they see a bunch of elves packaging the Christmas presents, and it's really fun to see a Christmas episode that's in the style of Jimmy Neutron's CGI animation. Like, I think Jimmy Neutron is definitely a good universe to see Christmas in. It gives me a lot of nostalgic vibes for those old Christmas CG animated things. When they get to the North Pole, they find out that Jimmy accidentally broke Santa, which I didn't realize was possible, so the elves get really mad at him, and they're upset because nobody's able to deliver the toys in time for Christmas. Meanwhile, Mr. Neutron is trying to invent his own holiday with pie, and I think this is the beginning of his obsession with pies. In order to make up for hurting Santa Claus, Jimmy tries to make an invention that allows him to be able to deliver all the presents via his rocket. With Goddard having a reindeer nose, which is adorable, Jimmy sets off to deliver all the presents, and Hugh becomes the new mascot for his Christmas holiday, which is like Pie Day. While I wasn't expecting the first musical number, the second musical number took me by more surprise. It's sweet watching the parents sing because these characters aren't in it much anyway, so like just having them have a moment to shine as two really funny characters is cute. Definitely relevant to the Christmas special. And they sing a nice little Christmas number about pie as he wears this duck hat. So Jimmy and his dad spread holiday cheer, both in their own way. It's funny because Jimmy spends all this time trying to disprove what Santa is able to do, and yet he is trying to figure out a way to realistically do it within this Christmas time. Jimmy finally meets Santa, who actually helps him deliver the presents, and Jimmy learns that he's actually a lot more scientific than he initially believed. So Jimmy actually starts to like Santa Claus. In the end, Santa Claus gives Jimmy exactly what he asked for Christmas, restoring his belief in the holiday. Every cast member of this show gets their own best present that they deserve, and we end on a nice little closing shot of Jimmy's house. And then happy holidays, everybody. The Jimmy Neutron holiday special was definitely forgotten, but I feel like it's worth remembering with all the musical numbers and Jimmy and his dad's aspirations to bring the holidays back despite scientific differences. I mean, this is such a good one, especially opposing the Fairly Odd Parents one. Season 2, Episode 9 is now the Valentine's Day episode.
I love you, Sydney Vortex! Vortex! Vortex!
So we know about holiday episodes. I've done some Christmas ones, I've done some Halloween ones, but there's some holidays that are a little bit more obscure. I would say B and C tier, like Thanksgiving or, wait, Valentine's Day, yep.
Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, children.
All the Valentine's Day specials are really cute because they take the characters into this love-like trance and change it up for a little bit. It's usually a bottle episode with the events not lasting. And while I think the same is with this Jimmy Neutron episode, it does a little bit more than a normal holiday episode should. The episode's called Love Potion 976/J, and while the title card is extremely not in character of the episode, like unless this is the 4th of July special, but this is the episode where we finally get to see Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen have their potential loves introduced. And so much more. I can't wait to get in with you guys about how the Jimmy Neutron Valentine's Day episode is the craziest holiday episode I've seen. So let's see, Jimmy Neutron, Season 2, Episode 10, Love Potion. Okay, so the story begins with Jimmy's homeroom making Valentine's Day gifts. Don't see a lot of shows that do this specific thing where it's like everybody's celebrating this one holiday, and
Almost done. I just need my mom's lawyer to look them over so I'm not obligated to pursue a relationship.
And we see Jimmy say that he will never fall in love, but like, haven't you been in love with Betty, like at that house party episode? But I guess Betty Quinlan isn't something he would like admit out loud to the class, so maybe like for being a genius with his ego, this is normal. So Jimmy notices Oleander, which is this kid I don't really know super well. He kind of acts a lot like Carl. He's being controlled by his girlfriend, and Jimmy is like, oh my god, how could this kid stoop so low by being in a relationship? Miss Fowl says that it's only a matter of time until Jimmy is falling in love himself. Jimmy then starts to contemplate what Miss Fowl said, and doing as he usually does, he creates an invention. So it's the pheromone number 976/J, and it's a hormone that causes any boy under its influence to fall in love with the first girl he sees, and vice versa. Ooh, I always loved this plot. I think it's definitely more in wizard-related shows, but I like the idea of a concoction that allows you to fall in love. That's funny. Once Jimmy explains what the pheromone is, Sheen tries to destroy it with an axe. Jimmy stops him and explains that he's going to use the love potion to make an anti-love vaccine instead of Jimmy. We need a lot of vaccines. Jimmy then continues to store the hormone in an air-sealed vacuum, like storage space. Carl asks Jimmy to use his computer and check his email for cheese. and accidentally unleashes the experiment that Jimmy just made. Somehow it affects them all without them noticing, like real love. They leave the lab running into Libby and Cindy, and after being bullied by them, Jimmy turns towards Sydney and instantly falls in love with her. He starts to see her as a really famous scientist and gets all googly-eyed. And then meanwhile, Sheen sees the same thing in Libby, but instead of being a scientist, she is an Ultra Lord queen. Something that would make both boys really enticed to want to be with these girls. And out of all moments, why when they're like pointing and laughing at them do they fall in love with them? So Libby leaves and Sheen actually follows her, but Cindy actually like ponders for a moment. And this is like sign number one, I think Cindy does love Jimmy, because she's not immediately turned off by the situation. She's very much like, I don't believe this. It's not that I don't want to believe it, but I don't believe it right now. If anything, she's protecting herself. That's how I know. And can we talk about what the Jimmy Neutron characters look like when they're in love? Like, this is more than even mind controlling. It fully makes them like mentally incapacitated. And it's so uncomfortable the way Jimmy's mouth is just like hanging open. I don't know if this is maybe how the creators see people in love being, but like, I don't know, it seems like it's this giant disease that's infected him, but maybe that's the aesthetic that the episode's going for. I kind of like that. Like, he's having a stroke here. On his way back to the lab, Jimmy is crushed by the door, and Carl falls in love with Jimmy's mom. And this is probably one of the earliest times we see Carl's relationship with Jimmy's mom. Like, we've joked about it before, but this is like full-on commitment. Like, he has a crush on her, and it's so creepy. I mean, I guess it's normal when you're like a teenage kid or like even preteen and having a crush on someone's mom, but like Carl is just taking this commitment to a whole new level. And you know how he feels about llamas and other things, like that's the same way he's caring about Jimmy's mom, and it's crazy. Especially the gall to do it in front of her husband. Oh my gosh, Hugh, look away. So Jimmy's cruising on his hovercraft, unsuccessfully trying to get Cindy off of his mind. He starts to imagine her face like literally everywhere, and it pops up on people. He decides that he needs to face the truth. He's fallen in love with Cindy. We see Sheen dancing outside of Livy's house, kind of like a seance. Like, the way Sheen has a crush on someone is so wacky because it's like so true to his character. Like, of course, a kid who loves superheroes and specifically like this Ultra Lord alter ego is going to see the woman he loves as a character in this world. But I think that's something that makes Sheen even funnier. He decides to give her melty face, which she's like really uncomfortable with at first, but then he admits that like this is his favorite toy and there's like sentimental value to it. So then we see a change in Libby where she's actually falling for him too. She takes it and there's a moment between them.
Would you do me the honor of going out with me tomorrow night on Valentine's Day?
Actually, I have to go do... Sure, why not?
So Carl's serenading Judy with a triangle. And when Hugh hears, Carl becomes angry and jealous and tells him what he has with Judy is special and nobody can ruin it. Oh my god, Carl, you are so confrontational.
Alrighty then.
Like, he didn't even express his love toward her. He just decided they're in love. I don't think that's how it works. And it's funny that Carl's getting the more negative side of the stick. Like, Jimmy's, you know, blindly in love. Sheen is worshiping this girl, but Carl seems to have, like, all the negative parts where he's, like, angry and jealous, like, the entire time. Which is interesting. It's very complex of a character for him. Jimmy spots Cindy at the candy bar, and inside her, Brittany and Libby are gossiping and discussing like their ideas of the perfect Valentine. They start to sing about what the perfect Valentine is, and this is one of the best scenes in the entire series because Cindy has her own little solo song and everybody at the candy bar breaks out into dance and harmonizes with her in this doo-wop themed My Valentine song.
And obey, he'll do just what I say, my Valentine. My Valentine. He'll hold you in his arms. I'll show him moves he's never seen. He'll woo you with his charm. He'll know his Cindy is supreme. He'll honor and obey. He'll do just what you say, your Valentine. My Valentine.
It's a parody of a real-life song. We'll talk about that later. The characters are so well choreographed together, and it's so cute. In the end, she's like, never settle for anyone, and just as she says that, Jimmy crashes into a building, runs into the candy bar, and confesses his love to Cindy. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. Everybody at the candy bar starts laughing, and it's really uncomfortable, especially as somebody who knows Jimmy so well. Like, the audience is so off-put by this, which is nice because there's a reasonable excuse. You know, there's a love potion. It's not like his character's just randomly in love, but it does add a layer of complexity that we haven't really seen on the show before. Cindy throws ice cream in his face and everybody continues to laugh at him, and he is actually kicked out of the candy bar.
You messy little hooligan! I just cleaned that floor 8 months ago. You're out of here. Yeah.
Libby points out that maybe this is a genuine love for somebody, and Cindy is totally into it. Like, she's like, okay. And then she shows up when Jimmy is walking home alone and actually...
So you like me, huh? Well, what are you prepared to do about it?
Tries to prove that it's wrong, and she's noticing that he's actually committed to this idea, and he even asks her to go on a date the next night. Seems like both Jimmy and Cindy are just as confused as their relationship jumps into this, like, new realm. And it's kind of really sweet. When he realizes he finally got the date, he's like excited, but then starts freaking out because he just made a date with Cindy. And that's where the act ends. It's like really dramatic. Meanwhile, Sheen is leading a blindfolded Libby down the street, takes off the blindfold, and there is a shrine made out to her with all this Ultra Lord stuff. It's like this really geeky shrine to her. And he asks her to be his Valentine and sits her down, and they gaze into each other's eyes. And it's actually really sweet.
Sure, Sheen. Of course I'll be your Valentine.
Unlike the next part where it's Hugh and Judy trying to enjoy a nice picnic when Carl shows up with a dancing monkey and music box. Carl, this is such an outdated attempt. He like tries to serenade her but ends up distracting Hugh with the monkey and tries to get a moment with her. Jimmy is really actually concerned about his date with Cindy because he really wants to impress her, so he goes to his lab and it's actually kind of a mess. So he decides to change his clothes, his entire personality, and really fit into this new love version of Jimmy. And it's kind of cool because, you know, I remember in the movie we got to see him change hairstyles and everything, but seeing a completely different side of Jimmy that's like suave and rich, I guess. It looks like his place is just rich, that everybody is, and Jimmy's into it. So when Cindy actually arrives at his place, she's self-conscious about it already, and it's just the fact that these guys already are acting so guilty just shows that they really do like each other.
Wow, Neutron, you clean up good.
Oh, well, thanks. Purple Flurp?
Yeah, thanks.
Jimmy's even nervous and asks Cindy if she is. He replies that he's never really felt this way before, and the two kind of have one more confrontation to test if this is really true. They gaze at each other for a moment and cut to Sheen and Libby again. Meanwhile, Sheen sets up Libby to prepare to take down her rivals as like a part of like some vow thing, and Libby's actually like really weirded out. And so Libby's very weirded out by all of this, and she tells him that they need to work on their friendship and asks to go out slowly. She kisses him on the cheek, and this is a genuine relationship.
This is gonna be a long holiday.
Then we get back to Carl and Judy. So Carl then gives Judy a suggestive card with a picture of himself shirtless and posing. And it's like, oh my god, Carl is so committed to this. He's like trying to duel Hugh at every opportunity he gets. When Hugh returns, he's just snippy one more time. And I feel like he's really trying to get her to cheat. And I'm like, Judy Neutron would never do that, right? When Carl eventually leaves, Hugh gives Judy a Valentine, and she is really appreciative. It's in the shape of a duck, of course, and the two share a moment, and we're aware that this is a real relationship, unlike the one Judy had with Carl. But it is funny to think that they needed to clear that up. They needed to give us a moment with both of them to be like, no, Judy's not debating it. No, she's with you. While Jimmy and Cindy are on a date, he gives her a holographic card and asks her to be his Valentine. Oof, Jimmy is really being vulnerable here. And it's just good to see him not be completely... I'm just glad that didn't go on the entire episode. He starts to swing her around to kiss, and I don't like the animation here. It looks like he just pushed her, and that's just weird. And right as they're about to kiss, Jimmy admits that he only wants to be with her because of the pheromone. Cindy gets genuinely hurt in the final and third reason why I'm sure that Cindy has a crush on Jimmy, because she thinks he is playing a cruel prank on her, when really, in a way, he kind of is. He just isn't aware of it. He needs to counteract the pheromone, and what could actually work with that? And they realize that Carl's Gouda Feta cheese could be so stinky it could take them out of a sense like that. No way that's gonna work. The next day, the guys sit down and sigh out of relief that Jimmy figured out how to stop the hormones from making them do unwanted things anymore. This kind of feels like The Giver, where like they're suppressing their emotions. I mean, but they are in 5th grade, like they're not quite ready for whatever they're trying to start here. But it is sweet to see the sentimental side of all of them, actually. Sheen and Libby turn to each other, and we even see that they're going to continue their relationship, which I didn't realize this was the episode that solidified something like that. Sheen ends up prancing around happily, and the whole thing ends. I like how there's not a lot of like progressing of the plot. It's just Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl being in love, and then Jimmy last minute being like, actually, I need to change this, makes an effort to smell the cheese. I wonder what it would be like if earlier he was making an effort, but fighting with himself, with Cindy throughout the episode. Although now that I think about it, that would give Cindy reason to not go through with it. It's a really tricky episode because it's like, how do you really portray young love? Like young love that's so young, it's like when you're in crush mode, not like full relationship, but innocent puppy dog love. And that's the best part of Valentine's Day, isn't it? And this show really did a good job at taking me down a Valentine's Day episode. I mean, I know we had the SpongeBob one, we definitely had Fairly Odd Parents. There's been a lot, but this one has done the absolute best job. The other shows are just another episode in the series. It's might as well be a holiday episode, but Jimmy Neutron actually incorporated really pivotal character moments in this specific episode that if this episode wasn't around, this entire show would be like wacky. Like it would be off its track, and we couldn't dial in Libby and Sheen's relationship. We couldn't entertain Carl's crush on Mrs. Neutron, and we couldn't see how guilty Jimmy and Cindy acted toward each other when they thought they were in love, and they are and I feel like even though they don't end up together in this, we are sure that that's what the writers wanted to do. They really did want us to think they were going to inevitably be together. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm really excited to see this pan out. I feel like it's a very mature plot line to make. But what did you guys think? Do you guys remember this episode?